Welcome to Turning Hard Times to Good Times. I'm your host, Jay Taylor, and I'm really happy to tell you that I have Colin Smith with me today for the first time. He is a director and CEO of Toogood Gold. It's a company that I just recently added to my newsletter for coverage about a week ago or so. Unfortunately, it doesn't trade in the US. You have to buy it in Canada. So I don't trade in Canada very often, but I have an account up there with Haywood, and I bought some shares up there. Hopefully, they'll be trading down here pretty soon for Americans to buy because I think it really is quite a fantastic story, which is why I own it and why I have it in the newsletter. I should tell you before I say hello to Colin, I should tell you that the stock trades in Canada. The symbol is TGC, 76.9 million shares, 38 cents in Canada. This is September 9th when we're talking to you here. The afternoon of September 9th, about 38 cents in Canadian money. That's about 28 cents in US money, giving a US market cap of a mere $21.5 million. And I think that's a number to keep in mind as you start to hear this story, because it's a very low number, I think, compared to where I see it going in the future, assuming, of course, some successful exploration results. And there's reasons to be optimistic on that in that regard. Colin is a geologist. He's worked with several different companies, over 20 years of experience in the field, and as an exploration geologist. And so really glad to have him with us today. Thank you so much for joining me, Colin.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here, Jay. Thanks very much for making time for us. It's great.
You bet. Thanks for making the time for us. Likewise, it's greatly appreciated. Well, as a geologist, what was it that you saw about the project that you're involved in Newfoundland? And I believe it's called the Quinlan Project. Is that what you're calling it?
Yeah, so Quinlan's one of the exciting new discoveries on the project. The project itself is called the Toogood Gold Project.
Oh,
And
okay.
and so yeah, I mean, but both work because Quinlan is a big part of our story right now. And it's funny, Jay, I was quite familiar with this asset in years past because it used to be a flagship asset of one of the Discovery Group companies, Prospector Metals. They had Toogood for a number of years and actually conducted the first ever drill program at Toogood, which was largely focused at the Quinlan zone. And from that first inaugural program, they drilled into visible gold in 15 of the 19 drill holes at Quinlan. And
Wow.
so that's been a really sort of primary focus for us in a drill program that's soon to be wrapping up at Toogood, largely focusing at Quinlan and expanding upon the wonderful hit ratio that Prospector ascertained in their first program. And what I like about it is it's really got all the earmarks of a tier one asset in the sense that it's a district scale play, Jay. It's over 118 square kilometers and growing. We're working on additional consolidation and M&A activity in the area. It's got high grades, so it's a high grade at surface gold system from what we've seen so far. So both sort of typical epithermal and also orogenic or mesothermal style gold. And it's an amazing jurisdiction. Newfoundland again is ranked in the, I believe, approximately in the Fraser Institute 2024 rankings for investment in mining jurisdictions. We're very well endowed with infrastructure. There's paved highways that run directly from an international airport, which is about an hour to the south of us in Gander, right up through our project area. You can drive on a highway almost right to Quinlan itself.
Wow.
And not only that, we're right at Tidewater. There's electrical lines. There's a skilled labor force all around us. So it's really, ticks every box in terms of an area that's great for exploration, great for potential significant discoveries, and also, a clear path to development if things head in the right direction.
Right. So, yeah, what about, is it hydroelectric power? You have power lines close by? Is it very low cost power?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, they run right through we're on what's called New World Island, which is
Hmm.
an island in the northern coast of Newfoundland, an hour north of Gander by highway. And there's a myriad of small little communities and hamlets, mostly from the fishing days that sort of scatter the coast, and they're all serviced with electrical power and access. So, very low cost of admission and with respect to infrastructure on that side of
Hmm.
things. And there wouldn't be a whole lot of additional lines needed to be put into any sort of development scenario for sure.
It's a big consideration these days. I mean, I was just looking last week at a project in Guyana where they have to use diesel, So, I mean,
Mhm.
if
Yes.
you have a low, predictable, low cost project, I mean, these are long-term projects generally if you find a major deposit. So, and I know that's what you have in mind for sure. I'd like to ask you about the maiden drill result in 2022. Can you just give our viewers a little bit of maybe just talk about some of those numbers because they're pretty spectacular. And
Yeah.
you said 15 of 19, I think you said drill holes,
Yeah, that's right.
visible holes.
Intercepted VG. Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly in my experience as an exploration geo, I'd like to say, Jay, that my hit ratio on the inaugural program of an asset is as such, but it's not often the case. And it's pretty rare actually to have those sort of results in the first swing of the bat in a drill
Hmm.
program. And, Quinlan is a target that was developed and evolved from boots on the ground fundamental geoscience, which was excellently deployed by Prospector Metals, and then like you said, they hit VG in 15 of the 19 holes. Some of the highlight intercepts were almost 24 grams gold over just shy of 4 meters, and that's very near surface, sort of 40 meters or 35 meters vertical depth. 18.3 grams per ton gold over 4.5 meters from
Wow.
about the same depth. So and this is the first pass drilling phase at Quinlan. And so, it's really on the heels of those results that we've been able to go in and further expand Quinlan and ultimately the drill program that we're conducting now. It's just wrapping up probably as we speak, actually. It's
Really?
2,000 meters,
Hmm.
which, sounds like a modest size of a program, but in the case of Quinlan, the host rock is this very distinct felsic intrusive rock. It's a felsic dike, and it comes right to surface. So we're able to drill, over 40 holes or give or take 40 holes in the 2,000 meters and just sort of march along the strike length of this dike. And then if we have success along strike, then we can step down dip and drill it at depth. So really good bang for your buck in terms of meterage. And we're able to hopefully expand the strike length and dip extent of Quinlan. And we're running also some geophysics that might help us discern where this dike might thicken. If
Hmm.
we can get, those sort of half ounce type intercepts or more over 10, 20, 30 meters, that's
Yeah.
that's really transformative for a company like ours. And so that's certainly what we're after.
So you've probably taken a look at some of the drill core that's come out. Anything you can discern so far from what you're seeing? I know we don't, I'd like to know how soon we might see assays, but is there anything you can see based on your understanding of the mineralogy of the
Yeah, well, I mean, the
geology?
the the nice thing about Quinlan is that this felsic dike is hosted in effectively a black shale, and
Uh-huh.
so you basically are looking for a lighter gray colored rock in a sea of black, and so I think so far we're seeing the right rock in the box, and we're seeing the right mineral assemblage in terms of what might grade based on what we've seen in years past from Prospector. The first assays we're expecting to come back within the next couple weeks or
Okay.
soon. The labs have been pretty busy this year with all that's been going on in Newfoundland, and Newfoundland Gold's been busy. There's
Sure.
been consolidation with them taking out Maritime.
Yes.
Valentine Lake is due for their first gold pour, I
Yes.
believe, this quarter. So there's lots going on in
Yeah.
the
In
province,
Newfoundland, right.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's been a
we're
quiet place until recent years, but boy, it's really picked up now and
well, that's right.
very
Yeah,
mind friendly, very mind friendly jurisdiction, right?
very mind friendly, yes, and many regard it as one of the sort of youngest gold rushes on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, there's been some significant discoveries made in recent years, and when you look at the anomalism and the surface showings at a project like Toogood, and the fact that really it wasn't only until 2022 that the first drill holes were conducted at Toogood, it's pretty remarkable. If this was a more established, more mature gold belt, it would be somewhat of a pincushion in terms of drilling, but
Mm-hmm.
it's our shareholders sort of have a first mover type opportunity in the sense that yes, there has been some drilling done, but we're really just on the second phase of drilling in the project's history. And we have the opportunity to go in and expand upon a new drilling discovery in a gold market that's as hot as it's ever been. So we're grateful for the work that Prospector did, and ultimately
Yeah.
we'll take that and run with it in this market for sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned geophysics. I think you're using geophysics. Other methods, and I know you put out some news, I think it was just today or yesterday, about AI assistance in your exploration efforts.
Indeed.
So what, I guess my question is, what methods do you use to establish these drill results? I mean, going back to 2022, was it a private company then?
No, it was publicly listed.
It's
Yeah.
publicly listed? Okay.
That's right. Yeah, and just to give a little color on that, some of your listeners might be asking why a company like Prospector would walk away from those kind of results. And
Yeah.
I worked at Discovery Group for, almost 8 years, very close to Jim Peterson, John Robbins, Rob Carpenter, all these guys.
Hmm.
And not too long after those results came out, the company Prospector Metals, who had Toogood before, they signed an option agreement for a project up in the Tombstone Belt of the Yukon called Mike Lake, or ML. And in doing so, they brought in, it was optioned from Troilus Gold. And so Troilus Gold became a 19.9% shareholder of Prospector. And not long after that deal, B2 Gold also came in as a strategic to Prospector. So they took
Hmm.
out about 9.9% of the company, I believe. And so their sort of key or cornerstone shareholders really had an intent for them to focus on the ML project in the Yukon.
Hmm.
And so quite quickly, Toogood became non-core asset. And members of our team, including Matt Roma, who's one of our directors and great guy and has enjoyed great success at Snowline and Gladiator Metals,
Hmm.
caught wind of that and was able to work out a great deal with Dr. Carpenter at Prospector, and so the rest is history, and that's why we're here today.
Hmm. Um, Maybe you could explain how AI could be useful and how it can help make for more efficient drill results.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think as an exploration geologist and a professional geologist here in Canada for the last couple decades, it's AI is something that I've always been a bit wary of, but a bit of a skeptic maybe. Not so much that I think it's going to take my job, but it's in past seemed a bit like a black box where you input a whole bunch of data and you get a whole bunch of products that you don't really know, the ins and outs of how they arrived at those products. But with every iteration, these models, especially verifies, they become more astute at
Hmm.
learning, not only the data and understanding the data in ways that we can't, but also you're able to run a model within Verify that's catered to the deposit style that you're looking for.
Hmm.
So in our case, we're able to run an unbiased model where there's no deposit style that's input into the algorithm. And then we can also run one that's specific for epithermal gold or orogenic or mesothermal gold. And so, AI in particular Verify is not perfectly suited for all assets and all data sets, but Toogood in particular, where you have several regional data sets, you have a large land package,
Hmm.
and you also have a really extensive publicly available data set through the Newfoundland government. It just is able to digest so much data at once and look at various, multivariate analyses that, certainly my brain couldn't
Couldn't handle
comprehend.
it. Yeah.
And it's not one of those things where you get a big pink blob on a map and you go out and drill it, Jay. But if you can
Uh-huh.
vet it with some good boots on the ground truthing, some geophysics, some geochemistry, some geological mapping to further rank those AI targets. It's really just another arrow in the quiver for
Hmm.
exploration geos like myself and our VPX Joe Price to best understand and to really best leverage the data that we have because,
Sure.
it's exploration dollars can be tough to come by and ultimately every dollar we spend, we want to go as far as possible and ultimately every meter we drill, we want to be as value adding as possible. So really, the ability to leverage AI to best understand these huge data sets is a critical component for sure.
Sure. Well, just the ability to process all that information and bring it together, it would be humanly impossible, I guess, to do even with your high-speed computers. But AI is just that much more computer power, I guess, right? So,
That's right. Yeah, and it's a 12-month engagement with Verify. So the benefit of that is that they're able to, do a model and iterative model of what we have at present. But as we continue to accrue, our regional soils data from the Northeast Block, our drilling assay data, our GPR data from the geophysics we're running, we're able to further input all that new data into the model. And so it's an iterative process, as we
Mhm.
learn more through the field work we're doing, as we accrue more data through this exploration season, the model will be continually run. And ultimately, that's great because we can learn more from the data that we're soon to understand.
Um, you have cash? You have enough cash to do this year's program, I guess, right?
Yes, yeah, that's right. So concurrent to listing, which was probably a couple months ago, a month and a half ago now, we did a financial raise. So it was a charity or just a flow through raise and a hard dollar
Uh-huh.
raise, and we raised about 4.5 million. It
Okay.
was fully subscribed, and that was at about a dime or 13 cents. And so, obviously we've traded up to 38 to 40 cents at present. So all those shareholders are quite happy with how things are going, but we still have cash in the bank, and
Hmm.
ultimately, as we receive our assets in the weeks to come here, hopefully we get numbers in the right columns, and the market recognizes that, and we're certainly good for now for cash, but ultimately, if it makes sense to do a top-up raise to set us up for the next sort of 12 to 18 months or longer, we'll certainly look to do that.
So what was your objective for this year's program, your exploration program? You must have some target or some achievement you hope to make.
Yeah, it's kind of two-pronged in the sense that the drill program is obviously a big component of it. We're out of the 1.5 million budget for this year's exploration, about two-thirds of that will be for the diamond drilling program, 2,000 meters, and that's focused at Quinlan. So what we're doing there is we're stepping out along strike and down dip from the existing drilling that Prospector did in 2022, and
Hmm.
ultimately, testing for geological continuity, and if it's there, ultimately, obviously testing for gold mineralization, and the sort of blue sky upside potential would be to establish continuity of grade as well in terms of gold mineralization,
Hmm.
and assess it at a high level and relative sense. Is there a resource potential at this target? And if there is, then I think the next financial raise would certainly go to supporting a more fulsome drill program where we really get aggressive and step out, hundreds of meters in each sort of fence of holes, and really see what sort of legs Quinlan has, because every hole that they drilled in 2022 hit the dike, hit gold, and so it's fully open in all directions. And ultimately, we'll sort of work our way out from that, and see what sort of legs Quinlan has. And concurrent to that, we've also been running sort of district scale exploration
Hmm.
initiatives. The claim block is sort of orientated in a northeast to southwest direction, and the northeast sort of half of the project is almost unlocked.
Hmm.
There's sparse rock sampling data that suggests there's high grade. We have LiDAR coverage. There's maybe 50 or 100 soils prior to this year that were run. So we're really going to start evaluating in a regional sense the full
Hmm.
district. And
Hmm.
so part of the component of this year's exploration is regional soil. So we're doing a regional soil grid with kilometer spaced lines
Okay.
covering most, if not all, of the full northern block. And you know, from an exploration toolkit standpoint, we're very lucky that soils is an extremely effective tool for
Uh-huh.
us at Toogood. There's a very thin veneer of glacial till and soil, and so when you get a soil anomaly, you're basically pointed to an in situ occurrence of gold.
Interesting.
And and so obviously the best vector for gold in geochemistry is gold in soils for us, but
Yep.
also arsenic is a dead ringer for gold mineralization at Toogood. So that's a big component of the program. And then we also have engaged a couple really high caliber structural geologists
Hmm.
to sort of start reconstructing the structural story at Toogood. It's when you look at it in Google Earth and in the LiDAR, there's regional continental scale breaks that cut at various orientations through the project area. And so being able to understand the relationship of those structures and how they impact, the concentration and conduit for fluid flow and ultimately mineralization is going to be key for us in unlocking the value of Too Good. And so that's a big component as well. We actually have a phase two field program that's going to be starting up in a little over a month's time here in
Oh,
October. And that'll comprise more soils in the Northeast Block and additional prospecting and mapping as well.
So you can work year round pretty much there, huh?
Pretty well, yeah. I mean, it gets a little windy and wet, so to speak, through the winter. But if we want to, we can certainly drill 12 months a year. Geological mapping might have a month or two pause if there's snow cover. There's not a whole lot of snow cover though, Jay, just because we're right on the coast and we're sort of
Yeah,
it's moderated by the sea climate there a bit. But yeah, it's pretty hospitable for the most part to work and drill year round, which is great.
that's really good. Well, Colin, you mentioned grade and scale, and I don't know if you might have a picture or two that you could maybe share with us that would give us some sense of the scale.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just pull something up. Let me know if you're when you're seeing a screen, I should say.
Yep, we're seeing it now.
Okay, great. Yeah, so let's see if I can back up and show you roughly where we are here. This is the island of Newfoundland, so to speak. The international airport which we fly into is Gander here, and then there's a paved highway which runs up to the north, and we're located here on New World Island in the northern coast of Newfoundland. One of the key facets of why we like where we are regionally in Newfoundland is the fact that we're on a very highly regarded and well-endowed structural zone called the exploits
Hmm.
subzone. And it actually runs right through some of these significant gold projects, including Valentine Lake, which, as I said before, is due for its first gold pour in Q3 of this year. And then it comes right up and rips through the Toogood Gold project area.
Hmm.
So it's basically on trend to Valentine Lake, and ultimately the deposit styles that they've been advancing and developing at Valentine Lake are very much what we're also looking for at Toogood. Structurally, there's a lot of analogs. Lithologically, there's a lot of analogs, and so ultimately, that's a great sort of model for us to go by. But zooming into the project scale now,
Hmm.
these are the tenements roughly as they are today, and what you're seeing is sort of a whittled down view of the data set with respect to rock sampling. The historical soils are all concentrated in here, and then darker lines of soils, and then all the soils that you see up in the Northeast Block, these lines, those are proposed for this year. So
Uh-huh.
we've collected maybe about a quarter of the soils to date, and ultimately the idea is to really get that coverage complete, especially Northeast Block, because there's no reason why there's not as much prospectivity as there is in the Southwest Block. There just hasn't been as much work.
Hmm.
And you can see just based on the density of the historical soils, the density of the rock samples that are in the squares here, grades are on the right. You sort of strike where the iron is hot, and so most of the work is focused in the Southwest Block. But there's multiple sort of 5+ gram rock samples up in the north here or east here, but the only soils that have been run historically are these two small lines in this sort of orthogonal or subparallel to structure line that you see here. So it's early days yet in the Northeast Block, but I think the first step for us is really to get that geochemical coverage, since it is such a good tool for us, and
Hmm.
it's a very efficient and cost-effective way of evaluating a large swath of ground in a season, so to speak. And that we're not looking for a defined polygon anomaly. What we're really looking for in this Northeast Block is one or two samples to kick on a line. Hopefully, in the next line down a kilometer away, another one or two samples to kick, and then we can come back in next summer and do a tight grid over that area and see what it's all about.
Hmm. Well, you're certainly in a great neighborhood. I mean, looking at those other projects in Newfoundland, yeah, it's most of them I'm covering in one way or another in my letter. So it's exciting. I think I'm really looking forward to you. So maybe in a couple of weeks you'll have some results. People should really keep their eyes on your news releases coming out because I mean you're, as I said, what, it 20 some $1 million market, 21 million in US money market cap. You're a real baby with all this
Indeed.
exploration potential and with all the results in the past. And it's a story that's not told, which is why I'm glad I'm one of the first ones to tell it, because I think it's going to be a good one. I can't think of too much else. I guess metallurgy kind of early, or you've done some. You mentioned, all the infrastructure seems to be ideal. Metallurgy
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
early.
so To date, Jay, there's been no met done, but having been to the field a few weeks ago and seeing Quinlan, seeing the drill core, and knowing what's in the drill core from 2022 from prospectors days, it's largely a free gold system. So
Hmm.
it's epithermal, mesothermal style mineralization, and in my experience, the processing of that type of material is very conventional, off the shelf,
Right.
high recovery rates, and
Should be.
so I don't certainly see any skeletons in the closet there.
Hmm.
Uh, Having worked in projects with challenging metallurgy in the past, this certainly is not one of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, it looks like a really good story to me. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, Colin, and I wish you all the best. Obviously, for self-serving reasons, I own shares. I failed to say earlier on that I'm not getting paid for this interview, folks. Some of you out there try to say that Taylor's pumping and dumping. I'm not pumping and dumping. I, I, I first of all, I say, would I want to own this stock? And if the answer is yes, then I want to tell other people about it. And then I tell my newsletter writers about it, or my newsletter subscribers about it, and they will see this before the general public does because they paid for my service. But in a few days later, it will be available to all of you. So you might think about subscribing to my newsletter. Yeah. J Taylor's Gold, Energy, and Tech Stocks. Again, Colin, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to keeping up with you going forward in the future.
Yeah, much appreciated, Jay. And one thing I might just close with
Yeah.
is in addition to my excitement and belief in the asset, in addition to that, really it was the team
Hmm.
behind Too Good that attracted me to the deal. Matt Roma was one of the co-founding CFOs of
Right.
Snowline Gold. He's
Yeah, I
also
know
involved,
Matt. Sure. Hmm.
yeah, with Gladiator Metals, which just closed a great bought deal financing and have enjoyed some great drilling results up in the territory there. And in addition to that, Darren Devine is chairman. He's also chairman of Dolly Varden Silver. Sean Kukun is a strategic
Yep.
advisor to Do
I know
Good, and
Sean.
has obviously
Hmm.
done amazing things at Dolly Varden and continues to do so. So, having those kind of folks involved with the deal, I think not only shows credibility to the asset and to the company, but also it gives us a real capacity to raise capital and to get good people
Oh,
involved.
sure. Yeah.
So, asset's great, team is great. So, thanks very much for having me and look forward to
Yeah.
keeping you
Well,
posted.
thank you for bringing that up. It's certainly, I was amiss in not asking you about your team because it does take more than one person to build a mine, that's for sure. It takes a lot of diverse talents to develop these things, a lot of science, a lot of money. And so
Mhm.
all those things are necessary. And it looks like you brought it all together pretty well, Colin. So, all right. Well, thank you again. And we'll look to touch base with you sometime in the future, perhaps.
Yeah, you bet, Jay. Thanks very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, you too. Well, folks, that is it for this week. Keep your eye on your inbox because we have a lot of exciting stories to tell you about in the what I think is the gold mining bull market of a lifetime. And I'm an old guy, I've been around for decades, and this is the most exciting one. I think you don't want to miss out on the opportunities. And at some point in time, an overvalued equity market, people are going to start to say, well, maybe we should be looking at gold. And the major mining companies are just making money hand over fist. The big guys that are producing have never had it so good. And that's going to trickle down to the juniors like this one and a lot of others. So keep your eye on the inbox. We're going to have more important and exciting stories to tell you about. Until we meet again, goodbye and God's blessings to you.